He broke every rule to save a dying bobcat kitten, forging a bond that defied nature. When duty tore them apart, he returned a year later to find a wild animal lost in sorrow, waiting for the one human she could never forget. The mist was thick. It hung like a gray blanket over the tall pine trees. The forests of northern Montana were quiet. It was early morning in late April. The world was waking up after a long winter. Leo pulled his old truck to a stop. He turned off the engine. The silence was deep. Leo was a wildlife rehabilitator. He was 42 years old. He had spent his life in these woods. His face was weathered. His beard had streaks of gray. His eyes had small lines around them from years of squinting in the sun. Maria climbed out of the truck. "It's a beautiful morning," she said. Maria was Leo's colleague. She had worked with him for 3 years. She loved wild animals and wanted to protect them. "Perfect day," Leo agreed. He pulled on his worn leather gloves. "The trail needs work. The spring melt has washed it out." They grabbed their backpacks. The packs were filled with tools, water, and first aid kits. They started down the narrow dirt path. The trail wound through giant ponderosa pines. Leo loved spring in the forest. Everything was coming back to life. New green shoots pushed through the damp earth. Animals were active with their young. They worked for 2 hours. They cleared fallen branches and checked their camera traps. They reached a remote part of the trail. Suddenly, Maria stopped. "Leo, wait," she whispered. "Do you hear that?" Leo stood still. He tilted his head. At first, he only heard the wind in the pine needles. A hawk called out in the distance. Then he heard it. A small, sad cry. It came from the thick bushes to their right. "Could be an animal," he said softly. "Let's look." But we stay back until we know what it is. They moved off the trail. They stepped carefully over fallen logs. The cries grew louder. They were high-pitched mews. The sound pulled at Leo's heart. He had heard cries like this many times before. It was the sound of an animal in trouble. "There," Maria whispered. She pointed to a dark space under a rotten log. Leo crouched down. He peered into the hollow. His breath caught in his throat. 3 tiny bobcat kittens were huddled together. They were only a few weeks old. Their spotted fur was soft and new. Leo looked closer. His heart sank. 2 of the kittens were still. Their small bodies were cold. Only one was alive. It mewed weakly. It tried to lift its tiny head. "Damn," Leo muttered. A familiar sadness washed over him. "Looks like their mother is gone." Maria knelt beside him. Her face was a mix of sadness and worry. "Poachers, maybe," she said. "We heard reports of them in this area." Leo nodded. Illegal hunting was a constant problem. He had seen its sad results too many times. Orphan cubs, damaged habitats. The balance of the forest was fragile. "The 2 are gone," he said quietly. He pointed to the still kittens. "But this little one." He focused on the survivor. She was a female. She had a perfect white diamond shape on her chest. It stood out against her spotted fur. "She's dehydrated," Maria said. Her vet-trained eyes saw the signs. "She probably hasn't eaten in days." Leo knew the rules. Wild animals, especially predators, should be left alone. Human help was a last resort. But he looked at the tiny kitten. She was fighting for every breath. He could not walk away. "We need to bury these 2, he said. He reached for the lifeless kittens. He and Maria dug a small grave. They laid the little bodies inside. It was a sad ritual. Leo had done it more times than he wanted to remember. When they returned to the living kitten, Leo made a choice. "I'm taking her," he said. He took off his flannel shirt. He wrapped it into a soft bundle. "She won't survive the day out here." Maria did not argue. They both knew the risks. But they also knew this was a special case. Leo approached the kitten slowly. He spoke in a low, soothing voice. "Hey there, little one," he murmured. "I know you're scared." The kitten's eyes were barely open. They were a beautiful blue-gray. They were cloudy with fear, but they also held a spark of life. Something in her gaze connected with Leo. It was a silent plea. He gently scooped her into his hands. She was so light. Her small body trembled against his rough palms. "You're a fighter, aren't you?" he whispered. He carefully wrapped her in his shirt. On the hike back to the truck, Leo held the kitten close to his chest. He tried to keep her warm. Her chances were small. He knew that. But something about this little creature made him determined. "What will you name her?" Maria asked as they reached the truck. Leo looked down at the small bundle. He saw the white diamond on her chest. "Lyra," he said. "Her name is Lyra." The drive to town was quiet and tense. Leo kept checking on the kitten. Maria called the local vet, Dr. Anya Sharma. Dr. Sharma specialized in wild animals. By the time they reached the clinic, Lyra was weaker. She would not take the sugar water Leo offered from a small dropper. Dr. Sharma was waiting. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and skilled hands. She had worked with Leo on many rescues. She trusted him. "Let's see her," she said. She led them to an exam room. She gently placed the tiny bobcat on the table. "Female, about 3 to 4 weeks old," Dr. Sharma said. She examined Lyra carefully. Dehydrated, malnourished, but no injuries. For the next hour, Dr. Sharma and her team worked on Lyra. They gave her fluids. They slowly warmed her body. Leo stayed the whole time. He could not leave. His face was full of worry. "Does she have a chance?" he finally asked. The vet gave him a small, careful smile. "She's responding well. The next 24 hours are critical. But she is a fighter. If she makes it through the night, her chances are good." "I want to take her home," Leo said. "I have the experience. I have the right setup." Dr. Sharma hesitated. "Leo, you know the rules. The Wildlife Center has the proper facilities." "Anya," Leo said, using her first name, "you know the center is full. It's always full in the spring. I've raised bobcats before. I have the permits. I can do this." After a long pause, Dr. Sharma nodded. "All right, but I want daily updates. You bring her in if anything changes." That night, Leo turned his spare bedroom into a nursery. He set up an enclosure. He controlled the temperature. He put in soft blankets. Every 2 hours, he woke up to feed Lyra. He used a tiny syringe with a special formula for wild kittens. Each time, he held his breath. He hoped she would eat. He hoped her tiny body would grow strong. By morning, Lyra was still alive. Her eyes were a little clearer. Her cries were a little stronger. Leo felt a surge of hope. When he called Dr. Sharma, she was surprised and relieved. "She's responding to you," the vet said. "That's a good sign. Keep doing what you're doing." Days became weeks. Lyra grew stronger. Leo created a careful routine. He knew he had to be careful. His goal was to return her to the wild. She needed to stay wary of people. She needed her predator instincts. But Leo was growing attached. He couldn't help it. There was something special about Lyra. Her eyes were so intelligent. She watched him with a deep curiosity. When she was 6 weeks old, she started to explore the cabin. She followed Leo everywhere. She would curl up near his feet while he did paperwork. "You're not supposed to like me this much," Leo told her one evening. "You're wild. You belong in the forest." Lyra just looked at him and purred. The sound always amazed Leo. Adult bobcats rarely purred. It was something kittens did. But Lyra kept purring for Leo long after she should have stopped. Summer came to the mountains. Leo started the next phase of Lyra's training. He built a large outdoor enclosure next to his cabin. It had rocks, logs, and branches for her to climb. He introduced her to live prey. First insects, then small mice. He was teaching her to hunt, like her mother would have. Maria visited often. She helped with Lyra. She was also a friend to Leo. He had become focused only on the bobcat. "You're getting too attached, Leo," Maria warned him one afternoon. They watched Lyra stalk a mouse in her enclosure. "What's the plan here?" Leo sighed. He ran a hand through his hair. "I know. She needs to go back to the wild. That's the goal. It has always been the goal." "But," Maria prompted. She knew him well. "But she's different," Leo admitted. "The way she looks at me. It's like she understands." Maria's face softened. "She is a magnificent animal. and you save her life. That creates a bond. But you know the best thing for her is to live a wild life. Leo knew she was right. As summer turned to fall, Lyra grew into a beautiful young bobcat. Her spotted coat got thicker for the coming winter. Her movements were smooth and powerful. She was hunting on her own. She had all the skills to survive. It was time to plan her release. Leo started making preparations. He chose a remote area with a good bobcat habitat, but there were problems. A neighbor reported seeing a bobcat near their house. It was almost certainly Lyra. Leo sometimes let her out of her enclosure for supervised freedom at night. Then the local wildlife officer gave Leo a stern warning. Keeping a predator in captivity was a serious matter. She is being prepared for release, Leo argued at a tense meeting. I have the permits. We are following the rules. The longer she stays with you, the harder it will be for her, said Officer Grant, a senior biologist. And frankly, Leo, people are worried you're too close to this case to think clearly. Before Leo could answer, his phone rang. It was his sister. His father had a serious heart attack. Leo had to go. He did not know how long he would be gone. We can take her, Officer Grant said. His tone softened when he saw Leo's distress. The Willow Creek Sanctuary will take her. It's a large, natural place. They have other bobcats. It might be the best thing for her. Leo had no other choice. His family needed him. The next morning, he helped transport Lyra to the sanctuary. It was 100 miles away. The staff promised to continue her training. They hoped to release her eventually. But they warned him. Sometimes, animals that spend too much time with humans never truly go back to the wild. Saying goodbye to Lyra was one of the hardest things Leo had ever done. As they led her away in a cage, she looked back at him. Her eyes were full of confusion. Leo thought he saw betrayal in them. I'm sorry, girl, he whispered. I hope you understand someday. Leo spent 3 months with his family. His father slowly recovered from surgery. Leo called the sanctuary every week for news about Lyra. The news was not good. She was not fitting in with the other bobcats. She stayed by herself. She refused to go into the shared spaces. She seemed stressed and sad. She isn't thriving, said Sarah Chun, the sanctuary's director. She is healthy, but her spirit is low. It's like she's waiting for something, or someone. The words were like a punch to Leo's gut. He knew he had formed a deep bond with Lyra, a bond that went beyond professional rules. And now she was suffering because of it. I'm coming back, he decided on the phone. I need to see her. 2 days later, Leo pulled into the sanctuary's parking lot. His heart was pounding. What if she didn't remember him? What if seeing him made things worse? Sarah met him at the entrance. Her face was guarded. I should warn you, Leo. She has become very withdrawn. Don't expect too much. Leo nodded. He braced himself. They walked toward the bobcat enclosures. The facility was impressive. The habitats were large and natural. They stopped outside a spacious enclosure. A lone bobcat was lying on a high rocky ledge. Her back was turned to them. That's her, Sarah said softly. She spends most of her time up there, away from everyone. Leo walked to the fence. His throat felt tight. Lyra, he called gently. He made a special clicking sound. It was the sound he used to make when he fed her as a kitten. For a moment, nothing happened. The bobcat did not move. Leo's heart sank. Then, her ears twitched. Slowly, she turned her head. She looked right at the fence where Leo stood. Time seemed to freeze. Their eyes met across the distance. Leo held his breath. He searched for a sign of recognition in her familiar blue-gray eyes. For a few seconds, Lyra just stared. Her body was perfectly still. Only the tip of her tail began to twitch. Then, she exploded into motion. She leaped from the ledge. She bounded down the rocks with amazing speed. She raced across the enclosure. She ran straight toward Leo. She stopped just short of the fence. Her whole body was trembling with excitement. Oh my God, Sarah whispered beside him. I've never seen her move like that. Leo knelt down. He wanted to be closer to her level. He could hardly believe what was happening. Hey there, beautiful girl, he said softly. Remember me? Lyra paced along the fence. She made a soft chuffing sound. It was a sound Leo remembered well. Her eyes never left his face. There was no doubt. She knew him. She knows you, Sarah said. Her voice was full of wonder. After all this time, she absolutely knows you. Can I go in? Leo asked. He could not take his eyes off Lyra. Please. Sarah hesitated for only a second. We'll need to be careful, she said. She led him to a special double-gated entrance. Remember, she is still a wild animal. Leo entered the enclosure. His heart hammered in his chest. Lyra watched his every move. He moved slowly. He crouched down a few feet away. He let her make the next move. It's me, Lyra, he said quietly. I've missed you. For a long moment, Lyra stayed where she was. She studied him. Then, with a grace that stole Leo's breath, she walked toward him. She did not move like a cautious predator. She moved with the confidence of someone who recognized a friend. She stopped right in front of him. He could feel her warm breath. Slowly, carefully, she lifted a paw. She placed it on his knee. It was the special greeting she had created just for him. It was a gesture he had never seen in any other bobcat. She remembers, Leo whispered. Tears welled in his eyes. He tried to stay professional, but he couldn't. She actually remembers. What happened next amazed even Leo. Lyra moved closer. She rubbed her head against his arm. It was a clear sign of affection. Then she sat down beside him. Her body was relaxed. Sarah later said she had never seen Lyra so calm. This is extraordinary, Sarah said from outside the fence. I've worked with wildcats for 15 years. I've never seen anything like this. Leo stayed for nearly an hour. Lyra stayed close to him. She made soft sounds, almost like she was talking. When it was time for Leo to leave, he felt a heavy weight. What was the right thing to do for Lyra now? She was not happy at the sanctuary, but could she ever be truly wild with such a strong bond to a human? Over the next few days, Leo had long talks with Sarah and her team. They reviewed Lyra's case. They talked about her behavior and her future. In the end, they came to a special conclusion. It was not a normal solution, but it seemed best for Lyra. She can stay here, Sarah proposed, in a specialized enclosure. And you, Leo, can be part of her care. You can visit her. You can work with her, not as an owner. She is still a wild animal, but as a special caretaker. It was not the future Leo had imagined when he first rescued her. But he looked at Lyra. She was healthy and strong, and somehow, she was still connected to him. He knew it was the right choice. Leo moved back to Montana. He took a job that allowed him to be close to the sanctuary. He visited Lyra regularly. He respected her wild nature, but he also honored their unique bond. Over time, she even started to accept other caregivers. But she always had a special connection with Leo. 2 years later, on a cool autumn morning, Leo sat in Lyra's enclosure. He watched her stalk a bird. Her movements were beautiful. She was a perfect predator. As if she felt him watching, Lyra paused. She turned and looked at Leo. Her intelligent eyes met his. In that moment, Leo felt a deep sense of peace. Their journey had not been easy, but it had led them both to the right place. Good girl, Lyra, he whispered. He watched her return to her hunt. You're exactly who you're supposed to be. And Leo knew, in his own way, that Lyra had saved him just as surely as he had saved her.